What if the greatest strength you'll ever need isn't out there? It's already inside you, waiting to be awakened. Every time you break free from an old pattern, you are building a strength no one can take from you. True strength is not about how much you can endure, it's about who you choose to become. The very foundation of building immense inner strength begins with awareness. Without awareness, you are asleep while you are awake. You live by default, repeating the same thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that keep you bound to the familiar reality of the past. Life becomes a loop, a repetitive cycle that looks different on the surface, but at its core, it is the same pattern playing out again and again. You react in the same ways, you feel the same emotions, you think the same thoughts, and you make the same choices. And as long as you remain unaware of this unconscious loop, you cannot change it. Awareness is the light that reveals the invisible. When you begin to notice the thoughts that run through your mind, the words you speak to yourself, the way you emotionally react to people and situations, you are no longer the victim of them. You are the observer. In that instant, you separate your identity from the program. You realize that you are not your thoughts, you are the one aware of them. You are not your emotions, you are the consciousness that experiences them. This realization is the first spark of inner power because it interrupts the unconscious momentum of your past self. The human brain is designed to run on patterns. Neurologically, it loves efficiency, and so it memorizes thoughts, reactions, and behaviors until they become automatic. The problem is that most of these programs were written unconsciously through past experiences, social conditioning, or moments of pain and trauma. When you operate from these old programs without awareness, you end up living in the past, even as the present moment unfolds. Your body feels the same familiar emotions, your brain fires the same familiar circuits, and your life produces the same familiar outcomes. But when awareness enters, it acts like a key that unlocks the prison door. You begin to see that you do not have to keep repeating what has been. Imagine for a moment you are driving a car. You know the route so well that you no longer think about it. You turn without noticing, you stop without effort, and you arrive without remembering the journey. That is how most people live their lives on autopilot. But the moment you decide to become aware, it's like suddenly noticing the road for the first time. You begin to question why you take the same turns, why you always arrive at the same destination, and why you keep repeating the same cycle. This shift from autopilot to conscious awareness is where strength begins because choice is born in that space. Awareness is not about judging yourself for what you notice. In fact, judgment is another trap of unconsciousness. True awareness is neutral. It simply observes. It witnesses the thought, the behavior, the emotion, and says, "Ah, there it is." This is crucial because the moment you can observe without judgment, you create the distance necessary to change. If you are entangled in judgment, you are still trapped by the program. But when you become the observer, you rise above it. You are no longer swimming in the current. You are standing on the shore, watching it flow by. This is where the real power of awareness unfolds. It is the birth of responsibility. Responsibility does not mean blame, it means the ability to respond. When you are aware, you gain the power to respond differently to the same situations. The argument that once triggered your anger becomes an opportunity to pause and breathe. The self-critical thought that once spiraled into despair becomes a moment to affirm a higher truth. The habit of avoidance that once kept you small becomes a chance to step forward in courage. With awareness, you are no longer a victim of circumstance. You are the creator of choice, and choice is the seed of transformation. Every time you choose differently from your past, you are building new neurological connections in your brain. You are rewiring the very circuitry that held you captive. Every time you choose a higher emotional response, you are teaching your body to feel a new state of being. Every time you choose awareness instead of autopilot, you are taking your power back from the old programs and reclaiming it for your future self. This is not abstract, it is biology. The brain and body physically change with each conscious act of awareness. Think of awareness as a mirror. It reflects back to you the state you are truly in, and when you see it clearly, you can no longer pretend you are powerless. The mirror does not lie, but it also does not condemn. It simply shows you where you are, and from there, you can decide where you want to go. This is why awareness is the first and most vital step in building inner strength. Without it, you are blind to your patterns. With it, you become the witness of your life, and as the witness, you are no longer enslaved by the old narrative. Most people seek strength by trying to change their outer circumstances, but true strength is built when you change your inner state. Awareness is the gateway to that inner shift. When you catch yourself reacting in fear but pause to breathe, you are training strength. When you notice your mind racing with worry and redirect it to possibility, you are training strength. When you see yourself about to repeat an old behavior but consciously choose a new one, you are training strength. Every act of awareness builds resilience, and over time, that resilience compounds into immense inner power. If awareness is the first step to building immense inner strength, then reprogramming the mind is the step that transforms awareness into lasting change. The mind, as it operates in most people, is a record of the past. It is a vast library of memories, emotions, beliefs, and experiences that shape how you see the world and how you see yourself. Each thought you think, each emotion you feel, each behavior you act out has been shaped by what you have lived through. The problem is that when the mind is dominated by the past, it keeps projecting that past into the future. You wake up each day with the same thoughts, which trigger the same feelings, which drive the same choices, which create the same experiences. And so, life becomes predictable, familiar, and limited by the walls of memory. Reprogramming the mind begins with a radical recognition. If the mind has been programmed by the past, then it can also be reprogrammed for the future. The same neural pathways that were wired by repeated thoughts and emotions can be unwired, and new ones can be wired in their place. This is not wishful thinking, it is neuroscience. The brain is plastic. It changes in response to attention, intention, and repetition. Every time you direct your focus toward a new thought, every time you imagine a new future, every time you practice a new emotional state, you are carving new grooves into the brain and body. This is why mental rehearsal is so powerful. When you close your eyes and vividly imagine yourself living in alignment with your highest vision, the brain does not know the difference between what is real and what is vividly imagined. The same neural circuits that would fire if you were living it now begin to light up. The brain begins to lay down the blueprint of that new self. The body, when you cultivate elevated emotions such as gratitude, love, or courage in that moment, begins to feel as though the future has already arrived. This means that by intentionally focusing your thoughts and emotions, you are conditioning your body and brain for a reality that has not yet manifested but is already taking shape within you. Consider how you've already programmed your mind in the past. A painful memory from childhood may have taught you to think you're not enough. That thought produced an emotion of unworthiness, which reinforced the thought, which created behaviors of self-sabotage. Over time, the thought, the emotion, and the behavior merged into a state of being. That state became a personality trait, and that trait influenced the course of your life. But the same process works in the opposite direction. By consciously introducing a new thought, I am worthy, I am capable, I am strong, and by pairing that thought with the emotion of gratitude or love, you begin to wire a new pattern, With repetition, that pattern becomes familiar, then automatic, until eventually it becomes who you are. Reprogramming the mind requires discipline because the old programs are not passive. They are strong and they want to survive. The body, after years of feeling familiar emotions like fear, worry, or anger, becomes addicted to those chemical states. The moment you try to break free, the body resists. It whispers, "This isn't safe. This isn't who we are. Go back to the familiar." That resistance is not failure. It is the body's way of holding on to what it knows. But when you persist, when you choose again and again to direct your thoughts toward your vision and your emotions toward elevated states, the old program begins to lose its grip. Think of it like training a muscle. At first, it feels unnatural, even uncomfortable. The weight feels heavy, the movement awkward. But with repetition, the muscle grows stronger, the motion becomes smoother, and what once felt impossible becomes second nature. The mind works the same way. At first, choosing a new thought feels forced, imagining a new future feels unrealistic, and embodying a new emotion feels fake. But the more you rehearse, the more natural it becomes, until one day you realize that what once felt foreign is now who you are. Visualization is one of the most potent tools in this process. When you close your eyes and imagine yourself walking through your day as the person you want to become, your brain begins to map that reality. If you see yourself speaking with confidence, your brain is rehearsing that future behavior. If you imagine yourself standing tall, making bold decisions, radiating calm strength, the body begins to feel it now. And when the moment comes in your external world to act in alignment with that vision, it feels familiar. You have already lived it 1,000 times in the mind, so the body knows exactly what to do. Emotions are the fuel of reprogramming. A thought without emotion is like a seed without water. It cannot take root. If you think, "I am powerful," but you feel fear, the old emotion overrides the new thought. But if you think, "I am powerful," and you feel gratitude, courage, or love, then the thought becomes alive. The body feels it, and the subconscious begins to accept it as true. This is why cultivating elevated emotions is essential. Gratitude is especially powerful because it signals to the body that the future you envision has already happened. When you feel grateful in advance, you are tricking your physiology into living in that future state now, and the body begins to align with that reality. Reprogramming the mind is not about denying your past. It is about freeing yourself from its control. You cannot change what happened, but you can change the meaning you assign to it, and the state you live from because of it. You can take the energy once tied up in survival and redirect it into creation. You can take the old program of limitation and replace it with the new program of expansion. You can take the voice that once said, "You can't," and overwrite it with the voice that says, "Watch me." This process demands patience, repetition, and trust. At first, the external world may not change, but internally you are shifting. And eventually, as the inner program changes, the outer world begins to mirror it back. People respond differently, opportunities appear, synchronicities unfold. This is not magic. It is the natural consequence of a reprogrammed mind aligning with a new reality. You are no longer creating from the memories of the past. You are creating from the vision of the future. And that is where true strength is born. If awareness awakens you to your patterns and reprogramming reshapes your mind, then mastering the energy of emotion is what powers the transformation. Emotion is not just a passing feeling, not simply a reaction to external events, but a powerful frequency that imprints itself into the body and the mind. Every emotion carries an energetic signature that affects how you think, how you act, and ultimately, what you attract into your life. To build immense inner strength, you must learn to shift your emotional state from survival-driven reactions to elevated states of creation. Emotions are chemical messengers. When a thought occurs, the brain releases neurochemicals that cascade through the body, creating a feeling. Think a thought of fear, and the body is flooded with chemicals that prepare you to fight, flee, or freeze. Think a thought of anger, and a surge of energy prepares you for confrontation. These emotions are not inherently wrong, but when they dominate your internal state, they keep you locked in survival mode. Survival emotions narrow your focus. They heighten your sense of separation, make you self-protective, and limit your ability to see possibilities beyond immediate danger. Inner weakness is born when a person lives habitually in these lower emotions: fear, shame, guilt, anger, resentment, unworthiness. These states consume energy rather than create it. They drain vitality, deplete clarity, and lock the body into patterns of stress. The body cannot distinguish between a real external threat and the imagined one that plays in the theater of the mind. If you keep rehearsing thoughts of worry or anger, the body believes the threat is real and reacts as though it must survive. Over time, the body becomes addicted to these stress chemicals, and the personality begins to crave them unconsciously. True inner strength requires breaking this addiction and choosing instead to generate elevated emotions. Elevated emotions such as love, joy, gratitude, inspiration, and courage are expansive. They open your field of awareness, expand your perspective, and signal to the body that it is safe to create rather than survive. These emotions are not just nice feelings. They are coherent states of energy that change your biology. They boost immune function, restore balance to the nervous system, and synchronize the rhythms of the heart and brain. When you live in elevated emotions, you reclaim energy that was once wasted in survival and redirect it toward growth, healing, and creation. Think of emotions as fuel. The kind of fuel you put into your inner system determines how far you go and how powerful you feel. If you keep fueling yourself with resentment, fear, or doubt, you will always feel limited, drained, and reactive. But if you fuel yourself with gratitude, courage, and love, you begin to generate a reservoir of energy that builds resilience and fortifies your inner strength. With this energy, challenges that once overwhelmed you become opportunities. Situations that once triggered you lose their power. You become less reactive and more creative, less controlled by external conditions, and more anchored in your inner state. One of the most profound aspects of emotions is that they are magnetic. They send signals into the field around you, influencing the way life responds. If you are steeped in fear and doubt, you unconsciously attract experiences that validate those feelings. The world mirrors your state back to you, but when you live in elevated emotions, the field you project begins to draw in synchronicities and opportunities that match those higher frequencies. This is not mystical thinking. It is the natural law of resonance. The energy you hold becomes the reality you experience. To master the energy of emotion, you must learn the art of self-regulation. When a situation triggers anger, instead of letting the emotion consume you, you pause, breathe, and choose a different state. This does not mean you suppress or deny the feeling. It means you acknowledge it, observe it, and consciously shift into a higher emotion. For example, when you feel fear, you might shift into gratitude for the opportunity to grow. When you feel anger, you might shift into compassion for yourself or others. Each time you do this, you are retraining your nervous system. You are teaching the body that it no longer needs to live enslaved to survival states. It can rest, recover, and thrive in elevated states. Gratitude is especially powerful in this process because it signals the body that the future you are envisioning is already here. When you feel grateful in advance, you are conditioning your body to believe it has already received what you are working toward. This creates a powerful alignment between thought and emotion, mind and body, vision and reality. Gratitude, more than almost any other emotion, rewires the nervous system for strength and resilience. Love is another state that transforms weakness into power. Love is expansive, it opens the heart, and it brings coherence to the body. When you live in love, not just romantic love, but love for life, love for your journey, love for your own growth, you are radiating a frequency that is stronger than fear. Love connects while fear separates. Love empowers while fear diminishes, and love generates the kind of inner strength that no external circumstance can shake. Courage, too, is vital. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the choice to move forward despite it. When you cultivate the emotion of courage, you signal to your body that you are no longer controlled by the old program of avoidance. You teach yourself that you can step into the unknown and remain whole. Courage builds confidence, and confidence builds resilience, and resilience is the essence of inner strength. The mastery of emotions is not about being happy all the time. It is about developing the capacity to move through emotions consciously rather than being controlled by them. It is about understanding that emotions are energy, and energy is power, and therefore the emotions you choose to embody are shaping the quality of your life. Weakness comes from allowing survival emotions to dominate. Strength comes from learning to generate elevated emotions regardless of external conditions. When you master the energy of emotion, you reclaim your creative power. You stop waiting for something outside you to change how you feel inside. You become the source of your state of being. You no longer depend on external circumstances for joy, gratitude, or love. You generate them within. And in doing so, you liberate yourself from the illusion of control by the external world. You discover that the real power has always been inside you, waiting to be activated by the emotions you choose to live in. Building immense inner strength is not an event, it is a process. It is not a single breakthrough, but a disciplined devotion to daily practice. Strength, whether physical, mental, or spiritual, is forged in repetition. Just as a muscle grows stronger when it is exercised consistently, the mind and heart grow stronger when they are trained with commitment and intention. The discipline of practice is the bridge between who you are now and who you are capable of becoming. The human mind loves comfort and familiarity. It will always try to return to what is known, even if what is known keeps you stuck in limitation. This is why discipline is essential. Without discipline, awareness fades, the old programs return, and the energy of survival emotions pulls you back into familiar patterns. Discipline is not about forcing yourself into rigid control. It is about devotion to your higher vision. It is the choice to show up for yourself every single day, even when you don't feel like it, even when it seems nothing is changing, even when the old self screams for comfort. Discipline is the language by which you tell the body and mind, we are no longer ruled by the past, we are training for the future. Daily practice can take many forms, but the essence is the same. It is the intentional act of aligning your inner world with your vision. Meditation is one of the most powerful practices because it teaches you how to withdraw from the external environment and turn your attention inward. In meditation, you interrupt the constant flow of thoughts, emotions, and reactions that bind you to the past. You quiet the mind, you observe the old programs, and you begin to install new patterns. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes to enter states of coherence, peace, and clarity. Over time, meditation stops being something you do and becomes a state of being that you carry into your day. Visualization is another practice that builds inner strength. By mentally rehearsing your desired future, you are training your brain and body to recognize it as familiar. You close your eyes, imagine the person you want to be, See yourself acting with confidence, living with purpose, embodying strength. The more vividly you practice this inner rehearsal, the more your brain wires new circuits, and the more your body begins to feel the elevated emotions of that future self. Each rehearsal is a repetition that strengthens the neural pathways of your vision. Just as an athlete practices movements until they become automatic, you practice becoming your future self until it becomes your new normal. Stillness, too, is a practice of discipline. In a world that thrives on distraction and stimulation, choosing to be still is an act of power. When you sit in silence, when you resist the urge to reach for your phone, to numb with entertainment, or to escape into busyness, you are strengthening the muscle of presence. Stillness is not empty, it is full of potential. It is in stillness that you hear the whispers of intuition, that you align with your higher self, that you recharge the energy needed to meet the challenges of life. Practicing stillness daily builds a reservoir of calm strength that cannot be shaken by external chaos. The discipline of practice is also about consistency. It is not what you do once that changes you, but what you do repeatedly. One day of meditation may calm the mind, but a year of meditation rewires the brain. One visualization may inspire you, but consistent visualization creates a new identity. One act of courage may shift your state temporarily, but repeated acts of courage build unshakable confidence. Inner strength is built in the same way a mountain is formed, through layer upon layer, moment upon moment, day upon day of steady commitment. There will be times when practice feels effortless, when inspiration flows, and you feel connected to something greater than yourself. But there will also be times when practice feels heavy, when distractions pull at you, when resistance whispers, "It doesn't matter, just skip today." These are the moments when discipline matters most. It is easy to practice when it feels good. True strength is built when you practice even when it doesn't. Each time you overcome resistance, you reclaim authority from the old self and give it to the new self you are becoming. Practice also requires patience. In the beginning, change may be invisible. You may sit in meditation and feel restless. You may visualize your future and doubt it will ever come. You may try to shift into elevated emotions and feel the pull of fear or anger stronger than ever. But beneath the surface, change is happening. The brain is rewiring, the body is recalibrating, the energy is reorganizing. Just as seeds planted in the soil take time before they sprout, your inner practice takes time before it reveals itself in your external world. Discipline is what keeps you watering the seed even when you cannot yet see the plant. Another element of practice is intentional living. It is not just about the time you spend in meditation or visualization, but about how you show up in every moment of your day. When you notice yourself slipping into old patterns and consciously choose a new response, that is practice. When you catch a negative thought and redirect it toward gratitude, that is practice. When you choose love over fear in a difficult moment, that is practice. Discipline is not confined to a ritual, it is woven into the fabric of your life. What makes practice powerful is not perfection, but persistence. You will stumble, you will forget, you will fall into old patterns, but each time you remember, each time you return, you are strengthening your inner muscle. Discipline is not about never falling, it is about always rising. Over time, the discipline of practice transforms you from someone who reacts unconsciously to someone who responds intentionally. From someone who is shaped by circumstances to someone who shapes circumstances. From someone who seeks strength outside to someone who embodies it within. The culmination of building immense inner strength is not found in chasing after it, not in endlessly seeking something outside yourself, but in becoming the vision you hold within. To become the vision means to no longer see your desired self as a distant possibility, but to embody it here and now. It is to close the gap between who you imagine yourself to be and how you live each moment. True strength is not something you perform on the surface. It is who you are at the deepest level of being. Becoming the vision begins with clarity. You must know who it is you are choosing to be. This is not about vague wishes or half-formed dreams. It requires an intentional act of creation in your mind. You define the qualities, the values, the emotions, and the actions of the person you want to embody. Is it confidence? Is it compassion? Is it resilience, love, wisdom, or courage? The clearer you are about the vision, the more powerful your transformation becomes. Without clarity, you remain scattered, pulled in different directions by old habits and external influences. With clarity, your energy converges toward one unified self. Once the vision is defined, the task becomes alignment. Alignment means your thoughts, emotions, and actions must match the identity of that vision. If your vision is to be unshakable in the face of adversity, then every time life presents you with challenge, you practice responding with calm strength instead of fear. If your vision is to live in gratitude, then throughout your day, you find reasons to be thankful even when circumstances seem unfavorable. Every moment becomes an opportunity to practice alignment, and every act of alignment strengthens the identity of the vision within you. The mistake many people make is waiting. They wait for external circumstances to change before they give themselves permission to feel or act like the person they want to be. They say, when I achieve this goal, then I'll feel successful. When I find the right partner, then I'll feel worthy. When my situation improves, then I'll feel strong. But this waiting keeps them trapped in the old self because they are still defined by external conditions. Becoming the vision means reversing this pattern. You no longer wait for life to change so you can feel different. You feel different now, you think different now, you act different now, and life reorganizes itself around that internal state. This requires a radical shift in identity. Instead of seeing yourself as someone who is working toward a future self, you begin to live as if you are already that self. You walk with the posture of the vision, you speak with the language of the vision, you carry the energy of the vision. At first, it may feel like pretending, like wearing clothes that don't yet fit. But with repetition, it becomes natural. The body begins to memorize the new state, the brain wires the new circuits, and what once felt foreign becomes familiar. Over time, you no longer try to be the vision. You simply are. Becoming the vision also means releasing the old identity. You cannot hold on to the old self and fully step into the new. The emotions of unworthiness, fear, doubt, resentment, and limitation are tied to the old program. To live as the vision, you must be willing to let those go, to no longer feed them with attention or belief. This is not always comfortable because the old self feels safe in its familiarity. But safety is not the same as strength. True strength is born when you step beyond the familiar and allow the old self to dissolve so the new self can emerge. One of the most powerful ways to embody the vision is to act as if. Every action you take sends a signal to your brain and body about who you are. When you choose the actions of the vision, you reinforce that identity. If the vision is confidence, you act confidently even before you feel it fully. If the vision is compassion, you choose compassionate actions even when it's difficult. If the vision is discipline, you follow through on commitments even when resistance rises. Each action builds evidence for the new identity, and the more evidence you create, the more deeply the vision becomes embodied. Emotions play a central role here as well. To become the vision, you must generate the emotions of that vision daily. If your vision is peace, you practice feeling peace in the present moment, not waiting for the world to quiet down. If your vision is abundance, you practice gratitude and fulfillment now, not waiting for external gain. The body begins to memorize these emotions, and once the body is convinced, the transformation is complete. The old self is no longer in charge, because the body has accepted the new identity as real. Becoming the vision also means consistency across environments. It is easy to embody the vision when life is calm and supportive. The real test is embodying it when challenges arise, when people doubt you, when circumstances trigger old patterns. These moments are not setbacks, they are opportunities to deepen the embodiment. Each time you hold your state in the face of adversity, you strengthen your inner foundation. Each time you choose to live as the vision regardless of external chaos, you prove to yourself that your inner strength is not conditional. It is who you are. In time, this embodiment creates a field of influence. People begin to notice not just what you say, but who you are. Your presence communicates strength without words. Your energy radiates coherence, and others feel it. You become a living example of transformation, not by teaching or persuading, but by embodying. This is the ultimate power of becoming the vision. It is not only for yourself, but it ripples outward into the lives of those around you. To become the vision is to collapse the distance between the imagined future and the lived present. It is to step into the reality you once only dreamed of and wear it like a second skin until it is no longer separate from you. It is to stop rehearsing a future version of yourself and to finally embody it fully in this moment. This is where immense inner strength becomes effortless, because it is no longer something you are striving to attain, but the natural expression of who you have become. Building immense inner strength is not about adding something new to yourself, but about awakening what has always been within you. It begins with the power of awareness, where you step out of the unconscious cycle of your past and become the observer of your own mind. It deepens with the reprogramming of the mind, where you intentionally wire new patterns of thought and emotion that align with your highest vision. It expands through the mastery of the energy of emotion, where you learn to rise above the survival states of fear and limitation and generate elevated states that fuel creation and resilience. It solidifies in the discipline of practice, where daily devotion transforms temporary inspiration into lasting transformation. And it culminates in becoming the vision, where you no longer reach for strength outside yourself, but embody it so fully that it radiates through everything you do. Inner strength is not a mask you wear or an act you perform. It is a state of being that grows each time you choose awareness over autopilot, creation over reaction, elevated emotion over survival, practice over comfort, embodiment over waiting. This strength is not dependent on circumstance, nor is it defined by external validation. It is built from within, and once it is forged, it cannot be taken away. When you build immense inner strength, you move through life not as a victim of the past or a prisoner of circumstance, but as a conscious creator who carries within the power to face, transform, and transcend whatever arises.